everyone, I hope you're well and welcome to the third episode of the World of Work podcast. In today's episode, we spoke to Sunayna, who is a BCom Honours in Economics graduate from UCT and who is currently a consultant at Boston Consulting Group, also known as BCG. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and that you learned something from it. Hi, Sunayna. So Sunayna studied a BCom Economics at UCT, BCom Economics and Finance, and then she went on to do BCom Honours in Economics. And then in her time at UCT, she was an economics tutor and a residence tutor. She was also a private tutor for Smart Prep. And then she went on to after graduating to go to BCG in Johannesburg as a junior associate, worked her way up to associate, senior associate, and now she is a consultant at BCG. So how's that been so far? How's your life at BCG been after graduating?
Yeah. So I mean, it's like I'm going into my fourth year now of
Yeah.
working. I think it was a bit of a rocky start. I started in 2020, and that's COVID, right?
Yeah.
So I come to BCG, really, really, really excited to work. I'm done with university, really excited to travel. The work that we do, you do get to travel if you are lucky because we work with international clients. So had my visa to Spain, had my visa to Australia, was ready to travel for case and training. And then 2 weeks before I was meant to travel to Spain, COVID hit.
Oh no.
So all that was kind of taken away. And I mean, if you think back to 2020 March, it was
Yeah.
COVID, but we didn't really know how long it was going to be. And then it ended up being a year. And I think it was really challenging because it's my first job out of university. I don't really know how to work or what the expectation is. And now I'm doing it in my childhood bedroom. Um, this really tough job in this world where you can't really engage with people. So I won't lie, it was a really rocky start. I was also working on a topic that I wasn't too familiar with or necessarily passionate about, which is mining. And I've been very honest and open about that at work to everyone that mining's just not for me. Although the technical type of mining that I was doing. So it was a bit of a rocky start. Did think about leaving BCG, did think about like, oh, I really love economics. Should I go back? Even applied for my master's at UCT in the middle of 2020. Um, and then what happened was basically I got put on a project that I really enjoyed. Um, and found the people I want to work with and the topic I want to work with. And that's really what changed everything, was finding the right support structure, topics that I enjoy. So I really enjoy social impact. I really enjoy African development. Um, so getting to work in that space has been amazing, and that's kind of where I've been. So yeah.
Ah, that's amazing. Okay, so you did really well from high school, and I think and then you still went and you got a distinction for your BCom economics degree. So what made you decide to go into consulting? Like, what made you decide to go to BCG? I'm pretty sure you had
Yeah.
like a lot of options.
Funny enough, I mean, when you look at like the picture from afar, it does look like really, really high points. Funny enough, I started off with Axi
Oh wow.
um, in first year. So I did in 2016, started off with Axi, hated it and failed. Um, so you needed to get like 70 for MAM 1000, I think 70 for stats. I got like 51 for MAM 1000 and like 54 for stats. So I had to extend, did stats 2004, failed that. Like I literally got, my class mark was 19%. So I had no choice but to change degrees. I mean, I could have extended by another year, but I was already on 5 year. And I was like, I don't want to do this. What can I do? So I was a bit of like in a predicament in the middle of my second year, thinking about, okay, what do I really want to do? What am I passionate about? I kind of chose Axi because I knew I wanted to be in business in the business world. And Axi is seen as like the highest thing you could possibly do. So I was like, I'll do that, right? But then got in and I was like, okay, I can't, I just not good at it. I just don't know how to do this thing. So then thought, okay, what do I really want to do? Always been passionate about social impact, community development. Economics felt like the one that was really close to that, where you bring in this business, you bring in the social aspect, you bring in the economy, so went into that. Um, and that's, I guess, where I excelled again. I think it's been a common theme when I'm in the place where I feel like I belong and my passions are aligned, that's where I excel.
Mhm.
Um,
And
because
I
I want to put in the time, I want to learn more. I think that's
and
essentially
I
it.
think is that like advice you give to students as well to just tell them that like rather stick to what you feel, rather stick to the places where you
Mm.
feel like you belong, and that's where like everything will work out somehow.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
don't want to say do that like, just all like willy-nilly with no thought
Yeah.
behind it, right?
Yeah.
It needs to be a little bit of thought of like, what do I want to get out of life? What type of jobs can I do? And then what can I study to get there? And it was like a connection. Okay, economics, get an economics BCom degree, which is why I also did the finance aspect, could get me into these places,
Okay.
can get me into consulting, could get me into finance if I wanted to. So being a bit smart of that. But I think just like a life and advice in general is it's okay to not be good at everything. And I think especially for like high achievers, you have this feeling that you need to really be good at everything. And it's okay to not, right? So then figure out where you are, what you are good at, and then, really invest time into that. And usually you'll see it's aligned to where your passions are.
Okay. And so then you found then what you felt you were passionate about in economics, and then you went on to
Yeah.
BCG. Why BCG in particular?
Yeah. So when I kind of stumbled across BCG when I was doing this transition from Axi to economics, my parents basically told me I can change to whatever I want. Like I can do whatever I want, but I need to have a path. I need to know how it's gonna like end up in some sort of career. And I didn't really know that. So I chose ecos because it's such a broad degree where you don't, and I think one of your questions in the pre-question was, do I consider myself an economist? No, because I think like an economist does a very specific job, and I think you can do ecos in so many different aspects of the world and have that background and come into so many different careers. So was like, okay, what can I do with an ecos degree? I was like, oh, maybe I would want to be like a journalist, or someone on like the news that does the research. But I'm like, how do I even go there? I need to do like a BA probably. And now like the world of journalism is getting a bit into social media that maybe I don't even need a degree. That I was like, oh, I don't know what to do. So went to the career center and basically told them, this is my predicament. I don't really know what to do. And they gave me like a bunch of pamphlets on all the different things. There was like accounting, there was like quants, there was comp sci, there was just everything that's like, because I had done comp sci part of AXI, so it was like all of these different things, and I was looking through, and I saw BCG, and they were hosting a women at BCG event because it was around August, and a high tea, and I'm really passionate about women in business, people of color, women, people of color, right? Like that's super niche. So I was like, oh, this sounds like a really cool event to be a part of and just be around really inspiring people. So applied for that, got accepted, had an event at High Tea in in Joburg, and then just really enjoyed the people I was around. I think I also interviewed with other consultancy firms or engaged with them, but I really just connected with BCG in terms of the people. Um, and I mean, I think a lot of companies do the same work. Which I don't think is a secret. I think the biggest thing when you're looking for a place to work is figure out the environment that you really feel supported in, that you can grow, where you feel seen. And I think all of that, BCG ticks my boxes for that.
Okay. And then earlier on this in this interview, you mentioned that you had failed your well, not failed, but you didn't meet the requirements to go into second year AXI immediately.
Yeah. Mhm.
How did you deal with that? Like, did that come with any anxiety? How did you
Mhm.
deal with that? And what did you learn from that
Yeah. No,
experience?
yeah, no, of course, like a lot of anxiety because I came from like when I was in high school, I was always a high achiever. And then you face your first like failure, and it can be really, really, I don't know, it's like stops you and you're like, okay, what does this mean? If I feel so bad about it, am I putting my worth on just what I'm able to do? And I was like, that's not really a good way to see what I'm worth and the value I can bring into the world. And I think it helped a little bit because I didn't enjoy AXI and I
Okay.
didn't see myself passionate about being an actuary. So it was, oh, I felt okay that I failed at it because I didn't think I would want to do that anyway. So it kind of helped a little bit. Um, and I think I just had to like, it was like an inner journey where I just had to be like, it's okay to fail. It's okay not to be good at everything. There's probably 1,000 people that are better at Aksai than I am. My worth isn't dependent on me getting that 70 for MAM 1000. Obviously, that is being in a luxurious position because it was fine that I could extend my year. You know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of people are under like financial constraints where they can't say that. So super aware that, that can't be everybody's like situation. But I think it's okay to step back and be like, that's not for me. Let me see what is the best thing for me.
Mm. And what advice would you give to students now who are currently dealing with that? Maybe like they've been failing something that they like, and also students who like are currently failing their degrees, and also
Yeah,
just all types of, yeah.
yeah. I think it's super important to know what the root of it is. Um, because there's a number of reasons. Like it could be very practical as maybe you're not studying in the right way. I think
Mm.
that's a huge thing as well. Like high school, the way you study for high school is not how you should study for university. The way you study for MAM 1000 is not how you should study for other type of math, right? I think it's you need to figure out, are you doing it in the right way? And and use the resources that are available, use the tutors. People are always willing to help. My brother's in second year university now, and he goes to so many more like, oh, he asks for so much more help. And I don't know if this is just, I don't know, maybe it's a personality thing, but he's like always asking his friends and always asking tutors and emailing lecturers. And I was like, I don't think I ever did that. I just kind of just suffered in like silence, or, when it got like to the extreme. Like, I think be okay to use the network. I think part of going to university, part of going to UCT is you're not there alone. Use the people around you for help.
Okay, thank you. And then, so now you're at BCG and you've managed to like, I guess, find your path, and you've managed to go in it from junior associate to senior associate to now
Yeah.
consultant. What has
Yeah.
been your favorite part of the journey? And also, what does a day in your life look like now? Like, how's it different to when you were a junior associate?
Okay, so I'll answer the first question about like what my favorite part has been. Um, I think it's a job where I'm never not growing or learning. Like it can be really difficult. I could be bored on the topic or this piece of work, or I'm tired, but I'm just always learning. And I think what's really exciting is that every time you like just reach a new level, so for example, from junior associate to associate, you do a year and then you become an associate. Like when you just become an like junior associate and you just become a associate, they're like, okay, this is the next thing you do. This is the next thing. Now I'm a consultant. The next stage would be, or the next step would be project leader. I'm already trying to think like, okay, what can I do? What skills do I need to develop to become a project leader? And I think it's been really rewarding that my journey wasn't super linear. I did struggle in the beginning, especially in the BA year and half of my A year where I wasn't like top performing. But I was able to like overcome that and now use those experiences that I have, speak to other people that are probably joining as business analysts or associates, and create a community where it's okay to not, just kill it every time the first time you try, and know that there is a support structure. I think especially seeing more women join BCG, more people of color join BCG, and being mentors for them, building relationships with them, I think that's been the most rewarding. And the travel, I won't lie. The travel's been super great. Being able to travel to a few countries in Africa, so Nigeria, Ivory Coast, and Kenya. Went to New York last year. Went to Barcelona. So yeah, the travel really, really great.
And then, what does a day in your life look like now? And how did it look
Yeah.
when you were a junior
Mhm.
associate?
Yeah, yeah. So there's no joke, or no, not joke, but there's no secret that the job is really tiring. Like the only reason you get these really exciting perks is because you work really, really hard. So if I were to think back to my day as a junior associate, and it's a bit difficult because it was like working from home, a lot of uncertainty, but your first meeting would be around 9. You'd have a team check-in for about half an hour, align on your priorities. You then work a bit, you probably have a check-in with your project leader. maybe around midday, you'll have an expert interview with some random guy on the other side of the world that knows a lot about what topic you're doing. You'll have a brainstorm session with other people in your team. I do a lot of like extra activities. And it's like a fact that women tend to do a lot more like we call them non-promotable jobs where it's like, just doing a lot of things, but I like them. So I'm part of the social impact group. I'm part of the learning and development. So that's basically training that we do for the different levels. Yeah, I do a lot of recruiting, so probably might have some sort of like working session or event that I need to prep for, more work. And then we also have CTM, so that's when you would present to, so it's a central team meeting where you would present to the managing directors and partners. I think that's a really nice thing is that I didn't have to wait to become a senior associate or consultant to present to partners. You are owning your work from the beginning. Like, yes, you're a junior analyst, but you have your piece of work and you're responsible for that. And you will present to the client and you will present to the MVP, and you're not just like getting coffee, which is really nice. And then you'll have like a client meeting. So that's, I guess, kind of what my day looks like. Um, you can go into the client. I haven't done it. I've done a lot of overseas work, so it's usually not me in with the client. It's usually then I would travel like for maybe 2 weeks where I go to the client. But I know some people go into the client every day, and every day is like different. So some days would be more like, we have an event and a workshop and I'm on the client side, or one day could be more, just internal planning. Um, so it depends.
And so, it sounds like you do have like quite a busy day. What habits do you put in place to make sure that you stay on top of your game and also that you stay like healthy, mentally well and stable, etc.?
Yeah, so I think that's been a huge challenge, that the work-life balance aspect, figuring out how to set boundaries. But I think it for me, it's only just come with practice, of knowing what boundaries I want to set and what's super important for me. So in my mind, I have like a set of non-negotiables that I have to do these things. So I got a dog during COVID. My dog really helps me because I always think, I need to take her for a walk. I need to take her outside. Why is she being in this room so long? Let me go take her. You know what I mean? So it helps me having a dog. I also set up time in the afternoons. Like we block in our calendars of like 2 hours. I just want to have a dinner break with family.
Okay.
So I would just log off completely, trying to create that separation. I think especially since COVID started, it feels like you'd always be on. So try to, turn my email notifications off, my messages off completely. Like I turn my VPN off so no one can contact me during a certain time. Try to do that. Sounds very simple, but making sure I have lunch, breakfast, and dinner. And it can, when you're working for the really long hours that consultants do. So I would work from 9 all the way to sometimes maybe 10 um, p.m. You need to have these breaks. And I think what I realized is you can't do the full 9 to 10 in one stretch. Like I'm gonna take out time in the middle of the day to walk my dog. I'm gonna take out 2 hours to have dinner with friends. I'm gonna try do my day within this entire day. Because if you try to end your day and then do life stuff, that's the end of the day, and then you're gonna be um, going to bed. So I try to like merge in life with my work day, which has been
Okay.
helpful for me.
That sounds amazing. So you've been there for now 4 years. What advice would you give to someone who wants to work for BCG? How
Mm,
would you advise them to get into BCG because it's also such a big firm? And also, yeah.
yeah. So I think very practically, I would say be on the lookout for the events that we run. We run a lot of recruiting events targeted at university students and especially at UCT. There's the Grow at BCG, and it sounds like I'm doing an ad. There's a Grow at BCG second year case competition. Apply for that. There's the internship that third year and fourth year students can do. Apply for that. If you see there's a BCG event, go to it. Just figure it out because I think in the interview process, they're interviewing you, but you're also interviewing them to figure out is this even something I would want to do. Make sure you do that. Make sure you have a really strong cover letter, and I think this is applicable no matter what job you do, right? Or what job you're applying for, is that your cover letter is your chance to show who you are. Don't just do the boring, I study this. I mean, you have to do that, but also bring in a bit of your personality. What are you passionate about? What can you bring to the table? Know what your personal brand is. And it doesn't mean now needing to go find a hobby or find this, but just know what are you like genuinely, what are you good at? What do you care about? And make that shine on the cover letter, I think is always super important. Um, don't be discouraged by rejection. I had applied to BCG April of second year and I didn't get in. And then I reapplied in August and I got in and yeah, and then got the full-time job in third year. And then I just postponed it to start after honors. So don't be discouraged by failure. Um, just come back and yeah, always try again.
Before this interview started, you mentioned that your time at UCT was interesting. What did you mean by that?
Oh, I meant the start in AXI, failing AXI, needing to figure
Okay,
out what I
okay.
needed to do.
And
I didn't really go to lectures either. I slept for most of the day and studied at night. So that's what I meant when you were like you didn't see me at UCT. I was like probably because I wasn't there.
um, and then so you were a tutor there. Do you find that
Hmm.
that was helpful in any way? How did that help you
Oh
in?
yeah, immensely helpful because a big part about being, I think university you sit behind like it's very passive. Um, you're taking in lecture notes or lectures, you're taking in notes, you're writing a test. You don't really have to talk much unless you're doing presentations. But if I think back to my undergrad degree, I don't think there was a presentation. I think I did like two in honors. There wasn't really that much forced engagement. Whereas being a tutor really taught me how to speak and how to explain things. And it helped me in my own like ecos. Like when I was doing like tutoring second year ecos when I was an honors student, it helped me. I'm like, this like simple things that you just like, this is why it is like this is why demand and supply is the way it is. And when you teaching people, you're like, okay, this is actually why it is the way it is. And it's actually helped me with my content when I was studying. It helped me with time management as well because I knew I had to plan, I knew I had to show up, I knew I had to deliver really good tutoring session for everyone. So it made sure that I can't just procrastinate. I have to get this work done because I'm gonna have to tutor. And then when thinking about the job, a lot of what we do is conversation. Like a lot of it is how you present information, whether that's presenting it on like a slide or how you speak. A lot of it is just that. So tutoring prepped me for all the presentation and engagement you have to do in the real world.
Okay, and what would you do differently? Like, were you part of any societies, firstly, at UCT at your time there?
Um, I don't think I had like I think I was so busy still figuring out what I wanted to study and what I wanted to do with life that I don't think I would have been able to join any or had any bandwidth to do any of that.
Okay.
Um, if I'm
And
honest, yeah.
lastly, knowing what you know now, what would you do differently if you got an opportunity to go back to university and start over?
Hmm.
Or what advice would you give like current students as well?
Okay, if I never want to say, and it sounds it's a really lame answer that I regret doing this. Um, I think maybe exploring like yeah, I think and maybe it's linked to joining more societies. Like I would probably have joined more interesting societies. Like I know knowing now that I'm in commerce, I'm in business, there's like, it's a very set path. I would probably join random things that I'm probably never gonna do again when I'm in the professional world, just because I have the time. So yeah, I think that's probably something I would do. I think in terms of advice for people that are university students, I think know what's important for you and then show up in a way that you can serve that, right? So if doing well in your degree is important to you, make sure that you put in the time to do well. If joining a certain career path is important to you, make sure you then put in the time to figure out how you can end up there. I think there's a lot of things that are under your control. Make sure you put in the time there and don't be alarmed if it's not a linear path, Like mine was not linear. Most people's aren't, and I think we only see the highlights of people's stories. Like on my LinkedIn profile, you just see Dark Scholar, Golden Key, promotions, right? You don't hear all of these other things that have happened. So give yourself grace as well for things not working out. Sometimes it might be better, right? Like imagine I had just done well in AXI and I was an actuary. I wouldn't have been able to do all the amazing things that I am doing right now and that I am super passionate about. So
I
I think
love
that would
that.
be my
I love
advice.
that so much. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to come talk to us. I have no doubt that the people listening to this will have learned something. I certainly have. And I just want to say thank you once again. And I really appreciate it. And congratulations on your career this far. And I'm wishing you all the best.
Oh, thank you. Thanks so much. It's been a pleasure. Yeah, and if there's ever like other InvestSoc um, events, whatever you want me to, be a part of, always happy to engage.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and that you learned something from it. Please note that the opening event is this week Thursday, the 20th of April. Arrival begins at 5:30 for 6 p.m. The venue is Bachelor Concert Hall and refreshments will be served. There are also a pair of Apple AirPods up for grabs for one of the attendees, and anyone is invited to this event, InvestSoc members and non-InvestSoc members. Please also note that you can still write an article for the InvestSoc Times. This is an amazing opportunity to learn about the current economic, political and financial affairs occurring in the world. It is also an amazing opportunity to bump up your CV. And lastly, the UCT GSB Entrepreneur Club event is on the 19th of April from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. We hope to see you there. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and I hope you have an amazing week and we see you again next week. Bye.